Where is... Hold on, everybody. Here we go. Had to grab my hype button. Almost forgot my hype horn. And let me set up my chat on the computer, the live chat. And it's asking me to set a goal. This will be a short one. And we'll say shout out and hype horn. Just setting it up on my desktop. Start goal. Funny, on my desktop, my own commercials are playing. Too funny. Hey, Jewel. Hey, kitty, come here. Come here. Come on over here. Oh, what a day. Hi, everybody. I'm going to whine because Mommy just started her video. Hey, Rita. Thanks for rewatching some of my videos today. I was typing back messages while I was standing in the pharmacy line. This is going to be a short one because my back, for whatever reason, is out today. It's killing me. And I'm sitting at my desk. I have no support behind me. I need like 2 pillows behind me or something. Oh, wow. Thanks for the thumbs up. We just started. Let me straighten out the camera a little bit. Yeah, I didn't have anything new to report today on Nancy Guthrie, but I've had quite an interesting afternoon. It did start out so well, but you never know. Things happen for a reason. Hey, Jane Rice. Welcome in. Yeah, I should have done like a Nancy tag and a Nancy thumbnail, you know, and then we'd have like a few hundred people come in over the course of the video, but there's nothing new for me to report on her today. But I did go to the box today, and I went to CVS twice, and the second trip was mighty interesting. I just need to get a few more people in here. You know, when I don't take the time to make a custom thumbnail, and I just use my AI-generated one, and people are coming in for the true crime, maybe they're not going to come in just to see, like, the mail call and what happened to me today. I'll have to put a tag on the community post later tonight. Quite an interesting day. Hey, Kermudge. Kermudge, I hate to tell you, you're not the most famous YouTuber that I know anymore. No offense, man. You're number 2 now. No, you're number 1 in my heart. But, yeah, I met a famous YouTuber today just by total, complete accident. Hey, Randy Quaid stunt double. That's interesting. You're retired. Were you in a Christmas Vacation, Randy Quaid stunt double? You know, the day started out rough, Kathy. Nope. Well, what have you been in, Randy Quaid stunt double? You were on vacation? Oh, wow. Awesome, man. The first one, yeah, you know, that was bomb because that came out like summer of '83, and in the summer of '83, my dad and I were driving across country from Washington, D.C. to California for me to come home. And I remember I didn't see that movie like immediately, and I'm like, what was I doing? How did I miss that movie, you know, originally? I did see it, you know, at a later time, but it was like, oh, because that was playing while we were driving across the country. And they were like, you know, showing some of the same sights along the way. So that's crazy. Like, I remember that so well. Of course, most of it was done in LA. No, you wouldn't believe what happened to me today. And, sorry, Curmudge, but now I know somebody who's more famous than you at YouTube. Just give it time, man. This kid, I've been watching this kid named Snazzy Carlos, and he's local. And he's not from here. He's from the Midwest, but he moved out to LA, and I've seen his Facebook reels, and I've seen his YouTube channel. And he kind of, in a nice, not a negative way, but a positive way, he kind of makes fun of the California lifestyle and the Angelenos. Kathy, is this true? Anyway, I met Snazzy Carlos today, and I'm going to put something on my community post. He's really a cool dude. He's funny. And maybe you guys wouldn't appreciate the humor if you're not from California, you're not from LA. The way he kind of makes fun of the rest of us, but not in a negative way, in a positive, funny way. And it kind of brought me up. And then I had a really good mail call. So tell me, Kathy, even though this is not about Nancy, if something's happened on the Nancy Guthrie case, what has happened? What? I know about... Hold on. Am I being pranked here? Am I being punked? Oh, typed in the wrong Nancy. Let's see. I don't see any arrest on here. I'm going to check. I know, let me go check out Harvey. I don't see anything on the mainstream news. You Googled it after you saw it. There's nothing on the mainstream news or TMZ. Where did you hear this, Kathy Mallory? Did you hear it like from a legit news source, or did you hear it from like one of those, clickbait AI type of Facebook or YouTube video sites? Where did you hear this? Where did you hear it, Kathy? Because there's a lot of fake sites out there that are set up for clicks. As soon as you listen to them, if you hear the AI robot guy talking, you know that it's one of those kinds of sites. Like, did you hear about it from Brian Enton or Ashley Banfield or Nancy Grace or even, God forbid, TMZ? Because they'd be all over this. Travis Reynolds was arrested and fired for kidnapping in connection with the February 1st. Oh, well, yeah, that guy. That's a separate situation. That's a Pima County Sheriff's deputy. Yeah. I checked this before I go on the air just to make sure. Just to make sure there wasn't any new news. Yeah, Travis Reynolds, he was that deputy that was arrested in Pima County for detaining an arrestee in the parking lot of the police station, actually where they do the intake for arrestees. And he, he's accused of doing some very terrible things. That is what pops up on Google. What pops up on Google, Curmudge? The thing about Travis? We already know about him. But that has nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie. Yeah, he was a deputy for Pima County. He's like 22 years old. He's a kid. And the victim was also 22, the alleged victim. But Kathy said specifically Tommaso. Who else did you say? The Bitcoin guy, that would be Derek Kallela, also known as Derek Kayea. And he's only been arrested by the feds, and his trial is in May in Tucson in federal court for the Bitcoin text. Yeah, nobody has been arrested for the Nancy Guthrie case other than the Bitcoin text guy. And he's been out a long time. I mean, it would be great if that was true. I was like, oh, wow. Deanna, hey, welcome. So anyway, Curmudge, I met Snazzy Carlos. Look him up. It turns out he lives near me. And I thought he did because I've seen some of his videos, and I'm like, I'm kind of recognizing this area. Like, I think that kid lives in the valley, and I think he lives near me. And then we ran into each other at CVS, and he's like, yeah, I'm here all the time. He couldn't believe that I recognized him because I said, don't people recognize you? And he said, yeah, but they usually come up and say, hey, Snazzy. And I was like, I was in the line, and there was a problem with the coupons not going through. And I'm like, that's why I'm in the line, because when I go to the self-serve, it doesn't take the coupon. And how about my other, 30% off or my 20% off? And she's like, oh, you have 4 cents. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is the second time I've been here today to straighten this out. And then there was all these people behind me, and I was just like, you know what? I'll just take it. If I have to take it back and straighten it out later, I will. And then I was like, hey, Carlos. And I was like, let me check out. I want to talk to you, man. And I said, I'm a YouTuber, but a real small one, And he's like, oh, yeah. He was super nice. I think he said he was from Michigan or somewhere. And I'm like, yeah, you're not from here, are you? Because you know, with a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, you make fun of the Angelinos. And he's like, are you watching me on Facebook Reels or on YouTube? I said, both. And I'm like, I love your earthquake video after we had that nice little shaker. I said, that was bomb, man, because it's so true. And he's like, yeah, I like to just kind of look at the Californians, and then, I just create these ideas. And I was like, you're going to make it, man. And that's what he does for a living. Let's see. Kathy says, Grand Junction newspaper from today says he was arrested for it. Nancy Grace. Who was arrested for what? There's been no arrest on Tommaso Cioni, and the only Derek Kelsa arrest is the federal charges, and he was arrested by the FBI. And he admitted at the door, supposedly, it got out to the media that, when he was accused, they served the search warrant at the door. Apparently, he folded his tent immediately and said, I did it. Let's see. The only thing that's happened in Arizona today is an armed suspect was shot by Phoenix police officers. I see that. And I know Nancy, she wouldn't report something that wasn't true. And her shows are actually, most of them are filmed several days in advance. I see Ed Smart is in the news again, and he's warning people against conspiracy theories in the Nancy Guthrie case. Yeah, they're talking about the trial date has been set for Derek Kelsa. That trial date, we talked about that in the last couple videos. His trial date is in May, and he first made an appearance in Santa Ana federal court, but the case has been transferred to Tucson, and he'll be in federal court. I think it was May 23rd, but he's out on bail. He was out in less than a day. Oh, it's June 23rd. Excuse me, I knew it was the 23rd. Yeah, he already went to his hearing, his arraignment. This is his actual trial. And there's a debate that we've talked about as to how he is connected to Tommaso and Annie. And it's through the bands that they have. Yeah, we don't want to put misinformation out there, but I understand. I just heard her say 2 people from Tucson. Well, you have the guy, Travis, the deputy that was arrested, that has nothing to do with the Nancy Guthrie case. And then Derek Kalala was arrested in Hawthorne, adjacent to Torrance, which is in LA County. It's in the South Bay. He was arrested for the ransom text. And they may not have been copycat ransoms because he was talking to them as if he knew them. Like, hey, what about my Bitcoin? I'm ready to, conduct or finish the transaction. And then he actually called one of them, and it's reported to be Annie on the phone. Like, hey, and they have the same band promoter and everything. They've performed in the same clubs. They're in the same goth death metal scene. So yeah, I was like, oh my God. Hi, Connie. It just totally threw me off. I had a whole speech to make, and I was like, what? Like, oh my God. I mean, if that had happened, I'd be going live from the CVS parking lot from my car, even without my equipment. I guess I should have an extra set of mics and carry them in my car just in case. I was reading years ago they accused Dick Van Dyke because he wasn't working of being the Zodiac Killer. I never heard that one. Kitty, not today. Only when I'm sleeping or when I'm live. And you just ate. Yeah, you just ate your kitty food. She might need some wet. And then she'll just look at it and take a lick and then... Oh, hold on, everybody. I gotta grab the mailman. Hello? Hi. I thought I missed you. I'll just put it right here. Oh, okay. Thanks, man. Well, I profusely apologize. I drove all the way to Studio City today, a whole, 8/10 of a mile, and forgot to hand the mail to the clerk at the mailbox store. And there's been a substitute mail guy, and we haven't had a post office where I am in 4 years, and it's a big controversial thing. So let me go back to my main screen. So, woo, Kathy. I was like, oh, I mean, I would hope that would be true. But let me tell you, I would be on it because I do check just before I go on the air. Time out, dude. Yeah, and if you guys are following my main YouTube page, like the channel page, I'll put something on community post tonight. I'll give you guys a link for Snazzy Carlos. He's just a young kid too. And he's like, no, this is what I do now. Did you see me on YouTube or Facebook? And I'm like, both. And I'm like, I just did this because I'm a cancer survivor. And he's like, well, hey, that's so good because then, we wouldn't have met today. And I'm like, I know, it's so cool. But I'm just doing this because I enjoy doing it. And that's one of the things he said. He goes, if you do it for the money, it'll never work. But if you're doing it because this is what you want to do, then, you'll build your audience. And I'm like, yeah, I did it because I survived cancer. And that's the only reason I brought it up is I said, that's why I did it. But I didn't have a niche. And now it's leaning more towards news and true crime. And to tell you how young this kid is, he had no idea who Nancy Guthrie was and had no idea who Savannah Guthrie was. And they're like, she's the co-host of the Today Show. And he just looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? But the guy's got 80,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he's pretty new. I mean, it's happened really quick. And I'm like, you're on your way to that silver play button, man. And then before you know it, you'll have the gold play. And I'm like, what's the one for $1 million? And he's like, I don't know, it's a diamond. I'm like, yeah, you know what it is. You're gonna get that someday. Just keep going. But he was very positive. He's like, yeah, just if you enjoy doing it, just do it. But I'm like, no, I don't have any creative talent whatsoever. But being a PI that's mostly retired, I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to true crime. And he goes, that's a good niche to be in. A lot of people They like that. Let's see. Yeah, that's a fake. There's all, you know what? I woke up to like 10 emails today, and some of them were legit, but most of them were just like, there's somebody, and I'm not even going to say, I don't even remember, but it's weird. It's like a manifesto. And that person writes me every so often, and that's what we used to get, like when I did PPO work, private security work, we would get manifestos like that through the mail, you know, because that's long before there was like the internet and email. And I've had a few stalkers myself that, not against me, but, you know, people that I've investigated, and they're like, hey, can I send you something? And I kind of opened up a can of worms by offering my email address, because I got one of those manifestos today. I get like so much weird stuff now. And there's a few people that are on here that are regulars that they'll write me, and it's not weird. It's like, it's great to have their email and be in communication. Like I'm in communication with one of my mods, and this lady that I met from the Catalina foothills, who was one of Nancy's neighbors. Like, that's awesome that I met her, because she's right there in Tucson, and she's in the neighborhood. Come on, people, hit that like button. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate you. Yeah, a lot of that stuff is fake. I get these fake links all the time, like, oh, you got to talk about this, or you got to see this video, and I'll go watch it for a few minutes, and in the first couple of lines, I'll be like, oh, this is one of those AI BS. And some of those channels actually, like, or Facebook pages, they'll have a lot of viewers. And it's not easy, like, to get monetized on Facebook. So you got to have a lot of clicks, a lot of followers. I don't even have an April Davis PI, like, YouTube page on Facebook. I used to have a reseller page. I took it down. My IT guy, or not my IT guy, but my web guy, who does all like my business stuff before I got, you know, cancer. He was like, no, we're going to have a Facebook page for April Davis Investigations, and we're not taking it down. And I just took it down the other night. I took that one down. I took a reselling page down. And, you know, I think my private YouTube is one of the options that you can connect to through one of the channel membership levels. I'd have to look to see if it was level 2 or something. I'm not sure. I don't have that many members yet, so at least not paid members. There's quite a few gifted members here, but not members that are actually paying for the service. So I'm like, you know, I want to waste my time and, you know, start another page. And yeah, I just would rather just, you know, I'm not trying to make money off of it. I just want to like do the videos. Maybe the butler did it with the candlestick. Sounds like a game of Clue, doesn't it? Well, let me tell you really quick, I did get this big YouTube package, and this was actually lying in the bag. Thank you. It's hard to see with the green screen, but this is a combination tripod and selfie stick and cell phone holder, and it also has the Bluetooth remote control button. And oh Jesus, Marvin, you know, thank you for the engagement, because I just probably made like 5 cents off you, man. But you're going to be timed out. There you go. Have a nice day, Marvin. So this came, but it wasn't. The box was in the bag. Hard to see with green screen. And this was laying in the bag. And I'm like, how could it arrive with the box open? And the bag is big, but it's not that big for this thing to have come all the way out, because it would have made the bag too long. So I don't know how the heck that happened, but it doesn't look like it's broken. I haven't had time to set it up because I just walked through the door before I went on the air. I went to CVS and the box, then came home for a few minutes, took care of a lost check on a medical bill for one of my surgeries. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to deal with this every day. It's still a full-time job, like 6-7 years later. And then I'm like, you know what? F it. I'm going back to CVS. There was no parking. I'm driving around the parking lot. I couldn't get my handicap spot, because I have the placard for it. I had to walk a mile. I get in there. Then the coupon's not working, so I have to stand in the line at the cashier. Then they wouldn't take the coupons from the app, and I'm just like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden I see Snazzy Carlos. And then he was the nicest guy, and we talked for like, a good 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm going to link his channel on my community post tab later tonight. And I don't know if you guys would appreciate the humor if you're not a Californian or you're not an Angelino, but I love it. And I told him to just keep going, because before you know it, he's going to blow up and have 1 million subs. Jay says, when electric went out when my kids were little, we played board games, and Clue was a favorite. I remember Clue when I was a kid. And then we're not done with the mail call yet. Somebody sent me a DoorDash card. And it happens to be the same person that sent the tripod selfie stick. And when I opened up, there was a big Amazon like cardboard envelope. Look at this. There was 3 of them. I got the notice that someone purchased a DoorDash card. This guy purchased 3. And you know what? I'll probably, will I cook tonight or will I use this? I'll have to see how I feel. Because earlier I was just feeling crummy. But then when I met a YouTuber, it just it lifted my spirits, and going to the mailbox earlier and seeing this, like, this is something I've wanted for so long. Like, this is amazing. And nobody has to give me anything. But wow, In Los Angeles, that would be like a couple days of food, Jay. Because I'm going to order something good. No 7-Eleven or Taco Bell for me. And, Trish, she joked last night, like, when you go to the mailbox, maybe there'll be some more mail for April Davis Platt. Well, here it is, folks. Another 2 cards. One from Mission Viejo, someone named Tracy, and someone named L. Walsh from North Weymouth, Massachusetts. Somebody sold my name to a senior citizens list. It says they put stickers, bring smiles to seniors. And then a lot of these cards have little inserts about seniors that get depressed. I'm not a senior and I'm not depressed, but these cards, and I think these are birthday cards because it's still my birthday month, they're very much appreciated, and that's from my heart. Platt lovers will not be denied. Then the guy, Rafi, at the mailbox was like, okay, have a good day, Miss Platt. And I'm like, and he was training a new girl. And I'm like, no, because I'm going to walk in and she'll be like, hey, Mrs. Platt. So 2 more cards. I think we might have already hit 40 on those. And then let's see. I'm not going to say the guy's name until if he's watching, you know who you are, man. If you sent me this and you sent me the DoorDash cards, which you have no idea how this is going to help me, especially at the end of the month when the money runs out about halfway through the month, like, send me an email, man, at aprildavispi@gmail.com, and let me know if you want a shout out on here. Let me know at least what your username is, or maybe you're just lurking in the background. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't type into the chat. Kermudge says, be back, need to start my generator to charge batteries. No problem, Kermudge. Yeah, so, what started out as kind of it was crummy and cloudy and just kind of foggy and icky and just gross outside, and I went to CVS the first time, and the line was like, it looked like Christmas Eve or Halloween Day or Halloween Eve in that store. Like, I can't believe the amount of people. And I thought, well, I live close by. Let me go home and handle some of this mail, tackle this. There was this lost surgery bill that they've sent me 3 notices, and I'm like, I paid that a month ago. Like, when I started going through my bank accounts, statements, like, oh, geez, now I got a missing check out there that's almost $400. Like, oh, geez, and I personally hand these things to the mailman because we don't have a drop box outside, and people just steal it from the lobby. We don't have any blue boxes in the neighborhood, and we don't have a post office in the neighborhood. The closest post office is a long commute from here. And I forgot to take the mail into the mailbox store. And I was just like, well, that's why I went, not just to pick up the Amazon stuff. Cost me $3, by the way. But I'm not, no complaints, man. It's going to be, I got a receipt for it this time. I remembered, so it can be a deduction against my first check, which will come in May. I mean, it was so funny. I almost felt embarrassed when I asked Snazzy Carlos, like, do you have a regular job, man, or is this your job? He goes, no, this is my full-time job. And I was like, yeah, I thought so, man. I'm like, just, if he can do that and he can afford the rent in this neighborhood, I mean, I don't know what his living situation is. Like, you know, he could live in a house with 10 people, or he could have his own luxury, you know, apartment. But he's managing to survive in LA. And, just from his YouTube and his Facebook, like, you know, he's a young kid. He's not my generation. And he even told me he went to film school. And I was like, because that's, you know, in my next life, that's what I want to do. I want to go to radio, television, and film school. Like, for real. If I was younger, I would do it now. I would just start all over. I'd be so terrible having to take all those general electives over again. Because I'm about halfway through college and then just had to move on and you know, do what I do best. Trisha, I am drinking peppermint mocha coffee right now, says Kathy. No coincidence in life, April. You were where you were supposed to be when you were supposed to be there. That's exactly how I felt. And then he felt that too, like, hey, you know, you were meant to survive, and, you know, we were going to meet each other today. And I'm like, I know, like, you know, or especially if I see an old friend. Like, I have a friend that's on Y&R and Days of Our Lives, and we used to live, like, really close to each other, and we'd see each other all the time, and I would go to Hollywood shows with her and, you know, like, be at her table with her. But then I moved just, you know, 0.8 of a mile out of the Brady Bunch house neighborhood, and we didn't see each other as often. So when we do run into each other, or I'm at her house or something like that, it's just like, oh, I'm so happy to see you, because since I last saw you, I almost died from cancer, and, you know, all this terrible stuff happened. And then right after I last saw her, then my whole heart thing happened. And I'm like, well, it's about time I run into my friend Stacy again, just say, like, I almost died since I saw you last, but I'm still here. It's like when I ran into Morgan. You know, I hadn't seen Morgan Fairchild in years, and I ran into her after all this horrible stuff had happened. And I thought, oh, it was so nice just to see her again, even if it was just for 20 minutes. And it's not like, you know, she's my best friend or anything, but I know her through the neighborhood. And it was weird because, like, if it's somebody that I don't know and it's someone that's like a famous person in the entertainment industry, I don't like to make contact with those kind of people, like in a store or a restaurant. But this was like another YouTuber, and I'm like, hey, man, Carlos, a fellow YouTuber, like, and he was like, hey, and he was just like really nice. So I guess I was supposed to be there, and I will tag his channel tonight on my post, you know, later on tonight after I decide. I'm going to decide if I'm going to cook or I'm going to DoorDash. Oh my gosh, they're much more expensive than like Uber Eats. Watched for 40 years. Could name most actors back in the day. Too bad about Drake. Kathy says Starbucks. Trisha says chocolate in any form. I gotta agree with you there. The chocolate in any form. And I definitely don't need the sugar of it. Yep. So, now that we got it cleared up, Kathy Mallory, that nobody got arrested today on the Nancy Guthrie case, what do we know today about Nancy Guthrie? Because I am not seeing, I've checked it 3 or 4 times already today. Nothing is happening. And I'd also get notifications on my phone from certain groups if, like, what is going on? Hi, Panda. Welcome back. What is going on today? I've heard one thing. It is done through the beans, no sugar added. I have heard that the sheriff is still warning, like, the neighbors, like, to be careful. And I'm also hearing that the FBI knows more than they're saying. Well, of course, they never release information when they're working a case. They're not like, nanos or bananas or nonads, as our new friend who came in from Nancy's neighborhood calls them. Like, they haven't said a word. And it seems like everything's held up, though, on this rootless hair strand that went to the wrong lab and now went to the FBI Quantico lab and is now being forwarded, or has been forwarded, to the private lab in San Francisco. And that could take months to go through that all over again. Hey, Trisha, I think it will be a regular bench and not one of those weirdo split log benches. Oh. Yeah, no nads, yeah. Hey, well, I already had to get up and leave my audience for the mailman. Do you need wet food? Do you need, like, a can of cat food? Oh my gosh, now she's jumped on my chair. You can't see her because she's behind me, but she's... Okay, Trisha, you're going to have to do your song and dance number. Let me grab a wet can of cat food. Well, not a wet can since I took my mic with me, but, a can of wet food. Oh, and she almost knocked over my ring light and my phone. Gotta find a longer extension cord, people. There you go. There it is. Well, I gotta be really careful because, my phone hit the floor the other night. We can all agree that we want whoever did this to be prosecuted to the highest level. Yes, which will be a challenge, means that the crime scene was contaminated on several occasions. Yes, I've said that from the beginning, especially if they identify somebody through that rootless hair sample. Trisha, lines all the females up. Okay, girls, we're going to do the can-can. Thank you, Trisha. I appreciate you so much. I know I tell you that all the time, but I really, from my heart, I mean that. I should have put a little extra food in her dish. She has plenty of dry food. She just ate that at the beginning of the video. So yeah, today was like this, which I've wanted for so long, and it only costs like $19.99, but still, like, you have no idea how much that means. And then to get, like, the 3 DoorDashes, and then I was thinking about you today, Trish, at the box going, when I opened up the box and it was pretty full, I was like, oh no, like, there's going to be more mail for Platt. I'm like, how do you get Platt from PI? Like, I just don't get it. And there's somebody I suspect who's been watching under multiple usernames, but they're all connected. And I don't know why this person keeps changing usernames, and they're from Oregon, and I suspect that he may have been the one. And thank you, because, I wouldn't have had anything for birthday cards other than, like, some Amazon cards, like, if these people that I don't even know had sent all this. You were talking about Nancy and her bench. She will be sipping a mocktail. Oh. Gosh, I wish that would be the most incredible thing, Trisha, if you could just keep putting that out into the universe and one day she just shows up and has no memory of what happened. But I just, from a detective standpoint, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's not going to be good. But I don't want it to just go on like, hey, how you doing, Chaz? I just saw the sparkle. Chaz Deutsch 2072. Thank you so much. Where are you coming in from, Chaz? That would be best to have no memory. Can you imagine if she were still alive and she was going through this and she was being held somewhere? Like the mental torture, but I just don't believe that. There's not even a little iota of hope, in my mind, in my heart for that. Verna, I hope that someone is caught. I am tired of the BS going nowhere and the evidence is right in front of us, as all said before to you. I wish I could see the forensic accounting investigation on this. Or it could be a private yacht. Yeah. Does anybody watch the Today Show anymore? Did anybody see like Savannah today? I don't sleep well in the night, so I sleep my best early in the morning, so I miss it, but I'll see like clips sometimes. That's so funny. The snazzy Carlos dude, he didn't even know, like, what case? Like, who is this? Like, he asked a couple, like, who is it? Like, and I thought, oh gosh, he's probably like, 20 some years old. He has no clue who Nancy Guthrie is, who Savannah Guthrie is. Are we ready for a Q&A? Let's go for it. Berta says no. Jay, she will have memories, but she won't be able to tell. It's top secret that she was whisked away on a cruise ship. Yeah, I wish. I wish. Yeah, there was definitely some violence that happened at that front door. Oh, Trisha. She says, I'm an 84-year-old woman. I have 2 daughters, 2 son-in-laws, and a son. I have 4 grandkids. Oh, wow. Which makes more sense to harm to silence anyone. I still want to know not just who did this, but I want to know the why, the who, what, when, where, and why. Was it revenge? Was it money? If it is for money, was it because somebody was targeting Savannah, or somebody just targeted her because, like I said from the very beginning, because she is a relative of a celebrity who's in the media, who obviously has a large, multi-million-dollar salary. She's not hurting for cashola Savannah. She's earned every penny of it. She's an amazing person, but it's just so sad if, some of her own family members may have suffered just because of her position. A grandchild would make the most sense in that scenario to me, yes. I had a big case that was similar to this, and it almost went down, but it didn't, and I can't talk about it because of non-disclosure, but the guy was super, super famous, and first they were going to target his house, and then it was like, no, the plan has changed now, and it's a kidnapping, and we were getting legit information out of a prison about this, and then we thought, well, maybe it's going to be one of the kids, and then it ended up being the person, the target became the wife, not him, not the kids, not his famous brother, his famous parents. It was going to be his wife, and it was horrible. and they like had to move out of their house for a long, long time, and they were in hiding, and it was a big mess. Kathy Mallory says, another thing I saw was they found Nancy's pacemaker in the desert. I kind of believe that is BS. Yeah. If that were the case, we would know about it. They wouldn't be able to hide something like that, because they'd be out looking in the desert for the rest of her. There's so much misinformation, and people just run with this. Oh, Tricia says you're not 84. I didn't think you were. What? But then maybe you are. I was being Nancy. Oh, I get it. Well, actually, that threw me off when you said the 4 grandkids, because she has 2 grandchildren through Cameron, and she has 2 grandchildren through Savannah, and supposedly Annie and Tommaso have a son between the 2 of them. And I know that Annie was married before, I think when she was very young, and I'm not 100% sure if she has a grown child through that first marriage. She was known as Annie Pierce. And it still has never been confirmed if she and Tommaso ever officially got married, because she still goes by Annie Guthrie, according to media, rather than Annie Cioni. So she's got at least 5 grandkids. Miss Platt. Oh, you seem to be a tough cookie. I hope so. Oh, okay, yeah, Cameron, supposedly he has 2, and I think they're daughters. I know Savannah has, I'll have to look that up. Got me curious, but I thought they were daughters. He's married. And Savannah, her oldest is a daughter named Vale, and her son's name is Charles, as is or was her father's name, and Charles is also her brother's name, but he goes by Cameron. Jay said that would be surgery. She would be deceased. Oh, you mean if they found the pacemaker? Yeah. I'm pretty sure, yeah, she was Annie Pierce. No problem, Kathy. Hey, Will Byers. Yeah. I wonder if Nancy, or not Nancy, but Annie, I'm wondering if she has an older one through the first marriage, or the marriage to this Pierce person. I totally don't get that. Leak is out that Annie is what you call mom and daughter. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by that. There was one empty dinner plate at Cameron's house, and I was told his kid was the one taking the picture and the owner of the empty plate. Well, I don't know him personally, but I'm pretty sure in the press they said that he has 2. I think they're daughters. I know he lives in Vermont, and he was a member of the U.S. Air Force, and he flew an F-16, but he is a current member of the Vermont National Guard. But he is retired from flying due to his age. You can only fly, you can't, like he would be in his 60s, I guess. Would he? How old is Savannah? She's like, what, 54? I think the sister's maybe a couple years older than her. I used to know all this. How old is Cameron now? But he is retired F-16 fighter pilot, but he is still active in the military from what they're saying. That's why he hasn't been able to just move out to Arizona and handle everything. He's got a job, as Savannah has a job, and they have kids. He has completely retired since 2018? Oh, I didn't hear that. I'll check on that too. Oh, and I don't remember, who was her? Oh, her name. There was a lady that came in last night. I've seen her before quite a few times, Lori M., and she brought up the Ronnie Chasen case. And I had mentioned something like, yeah, that was Wilshire, and I couldn't remember the side street. Well, I must have been tired because it was late night. That was actually Sunset Boulevard and Whittier in Beverly Hills. So if you come in or you're rewatching this, Lori M., she was the former flight attendant who used to fly into LAX. And she said the Ronnie Chasen thing was really big at the time, which it was. That was in 2010. It was actually Sunset and Whittier. And there's still a lot of questions in my mind about it. He was one of the Green Mountain Boys, but retired. Instead of sisters, Savannah is Annie's mom. No, Savannah is Annie's sister, and Nancy Guthrie is the mom. Hey, Peggy from Phoenix. Always nice to have people come in from Arizona. We have a follower now. I haven't seen her yet today, but a simple gal at heart. And she actually is from Tucson and lives in the Catalina foothills. So she's been able to contribute some very interesting comments on the videos. Thank you, Kathy. She says, people, why don't you help April by hitting the like button? Well, we've got 20 people currently here and 19 thumbs up. I hope everybody is subscribed. I hope you guys are sharing the channel. How's the weather now, Peggy, in Arizona? Because I really think they should have put the boots on the ground sooner, and they haven't done it yet. And I think we're already getting to that, that sus time of year where the weather's going to be awful, and it'll be like that for the next 6 or 7 months. Thank you, Kathy. She says, and subscribe, please. And it's really important to me is if you guys start watching the long-form videos. I haven't had a lot since I've been doing this Nancy Guthrie true crime series. But please hit, the subscribe button, hit the likes, watch the videos, because I'm not successful at that yet. Most of the videos are prior to the new monetization, and I'm kind of at a crossroads with that. Like, where's the channel gonna go? Needs more walks through the desert. Yeah, what's the weather like, Peggy, right now in Arizona? In LA, we hit 90s in February, and we had summer in part of February and March, but now it's back to normal again, and we've had snow up in the local mountains. Needs more walks through the desert to look for her. Absolutely, especially just within 5 or 10 miles from her home. It was in the 90s already. Yeah, we had that, but then now we're back to our regular weather. And pretty soon, in fact, this week, that's shocking because I have a friend whose birthday is May 1st, but we have what's called the May grays and the June glooms. And back when I was out doing, full-time surveillance, even in June, sometimes you would have to wear the layers and have the sweatsuit hoodie jacket and then a shirt and then another shirt and then a bra, and you start stripping your layers through the days. And then by July, it was, pleasant. And then in August, it can go either way. It start to get a little unpleasant. And then September, October, and even sometimes into November is misery. Like HE double hell on earth here, and we're on fire, and it's over 100 degrees. But, by then, the rest of you guys, like in Vegas or Tucson or Phoenix, are starting to go the other way and starting to get into your nice time of the year. And I just think it'll be too hot to, bring out the boots on the ground if they decide to do a search. They should have been doing that the first week. And then all the people that got turned down, like the Cajun Navy, wasn't there like a women's group that came out to look, and they were all turned back. And now the evidence could just be gone, depending on where she is. We are under tornado watch 3 times in 3 days. Electrical storm with heavy rain and hail. Now you're in Missouri, right, Kathy? Jay says in Louisiana, 100 plus during the day and 80 at night. Yikes. That's just the worst of the worst. I was in New Orleans many times as a child, and it's disgusting. I'm sorry, it's disgusting. Nice little city with a small town feel, but it's sinking. It's below sea level, and it's just disgusting. It's very high crime, too. People make a big deal about it, but it's not a nice place. Trisha, we had a horrible storm come through earlier, took a tree down in the neighborhood, and there was another round expected at any moment. Wow. Yeah, stay safe. Both you, Kathy, and Trisha. It's perfect today. I've even got the window open. I was listening to some of the sports news in the car, and I didn't even have the AC on. It's perfect. On my first trip out, I actually took a little jacket with me in the car, which is something I hardly ever do. I didn't wear it because I like walking around in shorts and short sleeves even when it's cold outside. But I was like, wow, it's kind of chilly. They need to get the community out to look for her. Absolutely, Berta. And so many people wanted to. There was one Saturday or Sunday morning where a lot of volunteers did go out, and they were warned that they could get cited or arrested for trespassing if they went on private property. They were discouraged from doing so. Oh, you lived in Shreveport. Yeah, I had some neighbors that lived in Shreveport. They liked it there, but they weren't in New Orleans. In fact, our friend Kelly Ray, that's where she was born. And when I knew her in Mobile, but she had come from St. Louis. She had spent most of her early years, I think, going to school in the Midwest. But she was born in New Orleans. And my best friend from high school, Cindy, was born in New Orleans. And neither of them live there anymore. One lives in Texas and one lives in Alabama. I know. Trisha, do you know what kind of lawsuits would come out that when it became evident that it was all a cover-up to whisk her out of harm's way? Well, yeah, people would be arrested. It wouldn't just be civil lawsuits. There would be criminal charges for filing false police reports. That just didn't happen, honey. But I'm still sus of Nanos. Hubby just born outside of New Orleans. Yeah, we used to go there a lot when I lived in Mobile, and we would go to the Superdome. That's the only time in my life I've ever seen an NFL game, even though I've lived in Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Los Angeles. That's the only stadium in the country that I've seen an NFL game. Now, I have been to the old stadium, the RFK in D.C., but I saw the Beach Boys there. And it was a very famous show because it was the last time they were together as an entire group of the original members before one was no longer. And why on earth did Savannah Guthrie donate $500K to missing kids before she offered a huge ransom? Because she was talked out of that by law enforcement. They thought it would clog up the tip lines too much. But she wanted to. I know, hinky, and this is as hinky gets. Yeah, she was discouraged from doing so. And I think that was the wrong move. You've got to work the case when the case is fresh. You've got to put everything on the table from the very beginning. But you also don't pay it if you don't have proof of life, because then that causes not only problems in this case, but it'll cause problems in other cases, because then, there will be more kidnappings and more fake ransoms and like, hey, I want some money, and never pay it without proof of life, no matter what the situation. And people are like, oh yeah, but she could afford $1 million. But no, don't pay it without proof of life, ever. And I know that was probably very hard, but never pay a ransom without proof of life. Tricia says, don't worry, Nancy, I got your back. Oh gosh. I'm trying to think positive thoughts like that she's in heaven and she's with her husband, Charles Guthrie, and she's with her dog that she just lost in December, and she'll live happily ever after for eternity. And they say there is no time or space on the other side, and one day she'll turn around and, her children and her grandchildren will be right behind her. And she doesn't have her broken body anymore. She doesn't need a pacemaker anymore. She doesn't need her heart medication or her blood thinners. And she's so happy there that she's sending these vibes that I feel she's sending to Savannah, saying, you need to go home to New York. You need to stop looking for me. But I think the FBI has more than what they're saying, and I hope it's not just this one little rootless hair that, the whole case hedges on. They went from millions to $35K on that Bitcoin thing. Well, there was the first set of ransoms that went from $4 million to $6 billion. Then there was the text ransoms from Derek, and then there was subsequent ransom notes that went just to TMZ asking for 1 Bitcoin and then changing his offer to like 1/2 Bitcoin now and another half later. Deanna, I think I missed the whole whisk away theory. It enlightens those who missed the episode. Yeah, I don't think the partial Bitcoin or the 1 Bitcoin writer is the same person at all. And the FBI doesn't think so either, because they took the first 2 ransoms as being legit. I just hope she has a cabana boy following her around with a full pitcher of mimosas. You know what? On the other side, she can have anything she wants. I have this neighbor. She has this very elderly cat, and I think she had to take it to the vet earlier today. I heard a cat screaming, like someone transporting a cat, and she just walked through the door. She may have just come back from work because it's not far from here, and every time she opens the door, the cat's right there and just howls. It's not like a regular meow, meow, like nice to see you. And I love that cat so much, and that cat is not well, and I'm afraid that it's suffering. And it's so hard to be a pet owner and have to make that decision and then always regret, did I do it too soon, or did I do it too late, or should I have done it sooner, and she's not home very much, and I can hear that cat sometimes just howling for help. It just hurts my heart. Deanna, we can't get Saturday night or Sunday morning straight. Hanky. I know! That's so true. I wonder if Nonad's made those messages. I doubt it. And I don't think he's going to have his job much longer. But how did we go from Snazzy Carlos and mail call to this? You know, I'm glad we're talking about Nancy because that's why most of you are here. But and then Kathy, she almost gave me a heart attack. Like, what? What just happened? What did I miss while I was in the car? But I did check the phone right before I went on the air. I always try to do that. I know. See, that's a very good point, Tricia. He has hundreds of opportunities to set the record absolutely straight and hasn't yet. If I were a reporter, I would just ask him, why did you say that? Twice. At least twice that I know of. I think even the lady that was writing me from the Catalina Foothills said something about that. That he said that and he never retracted it. And she's a very educated woman. I know who she is now. I know what she does for a living, and she's super educated, this woman, and like that bothers her. Like, it bothers me. Like, how did you make a mistake like that? And multiple times and has never corrected it. I know, like, sometimes I go down these dark rabbit holes on this case and I get worried, like, oh, this is really going to be bad. Like it's not bad enough already that an 84-year-old woman who's sound asleep in the safety of her own home isn't safe and somebody pulls her out of the bed in the middle of the night and she doesn't have her clothes or her shoes or her hearing aids or her phone or her devices that her pacemaker connects to and her meds. And she's so like desperate to like no, don't take me, that she fights back at the front door. Thus she was whisked away and no one involved thought it was going to go on this long. And why hasn't someone come forward? I know we did a video. I did a video on that too. Remember Jennifer Coffendorfer? There was like, I think she said 5 reasons, but when I read it as 4 because some kind of distraction came in and I was like, well, I got to handle it. Like, you know, there was 4 or 5 reasons as to why, you know, nobody's come forward yet. But, you know, that's a lot of money on the table. No one was allowed to search. The crime scene was released in 20 hours. Now someone's saying 30. I don't think it went that far. The timeline keeps changing. He keeps contradicting himself. A mat left on the porch with the foliage and the frame to the Nest doorbell not removed. Oh, that reminds me. I got a notice on my phone last night that my doorbell is 30% and needs a charge. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to hurry up and do that. Hair was hidden in Florida for nearly 3 months. I know. And you lose valuable time on something like that. And because the scene is compromised so much, you know, if somebody has a good lawyer, they could fight a lot of this if they get arrested based on the physical evidence alone. It all sends out vibes of dirty law. Yes, Kathy Mallory, I couldn't have said it better myself. It all sends out vibes of what we call in the industry corruption. But yes, dirty law. And I'm not accusing anybody here, but it certainly smells bad. But remember, the FBI, they're running their own show right now. And they haven't made any press conferences, so we don't know what they have on their lineup card. I was raised that if you have your choice, it's a horse or a zebra. It's almost always a horse. Hi, Kelly. Welcome in. I'm almost finished here, but welcome in, honey. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm going to post it later, Kelly, on my community post tab. So make sure you're, like, when you look at the channel and you look at the homepage, that sometimes you click the community post tab if it doesn't just show up in your feed. Because I met Snazzy Carlos today at CVS. I met a legit YouTuber, and I'm so happy. And I also did a mail call, Kelly. I got, I thought I was picking up 2 gifts, but I actually picked up 4 at the box, and then more mail came in for April Davis Platt. Why dirty on an 84-year-old woman? Exactly, Jay. It's just so hideous. Deanna says, I feel the same way, April. I have said it from the get-go. He's involved and blocked so many people from searching, keeping FBI out of the loop. Just go on and on of unprofessionalism. Yes. Well, maybe he's got a bad relationship with the FBI, maybe from a prior case. Kathy says she saw Zorse. Trisha, CJ, it isn't dirty if you see it as she was whisked away before the Clintons went live and the Alfs came out. Or the E-Files came out. Why did I read that as Elf? Getting dyslexic in my old age, I guess. It isn't dirty if you see it as she was whisked away before the Clintons went live and the E-Files came out. No, and there was some misinformation that Kathy had at the beginning of the show, but we confirmed that it was not true. Trisha, because you know someone would have wanted to hammer Savannah Guthrie's husband for being a Clinton fixer. I was just going to bring that up. And I just, I've heard these rumors about the marriage being on the rocks, and I don't know if it's true, but I don't know. They just don't. I'm not feeling the vibe between those two. And she's, on the Epstein files bandwagon, and let's help these victims, and let's get this out. And, she's become an investigative reporter, with her legal background. That's her passion. She's a lawyer. She's very smart. She's very educated. Our new friend that came in from Catalina Foothills said she went to Georgetown University for law school. Like, that's a great law school. And now, since she went back, or no, it was before this happened, when she got the call late in the day from her sister that her mom was missing, but yet all this other stuff had transpired before she even knew. And she had just come back. She had spent the weekend with Carson Daly and his wife and kids because hubby was away on some, tennis trip, like, alone, without her. I just get the feeling that the rumors, unfortunately, may be true. So, oh my God, she's got so much on her plate. Hello, Dawn. Yeah. I don't think he's involved. Jay says, how is Banana supposedly involved in Nancy's disappearance? I don't believe he's involved in her disappearance, but he sure messed up the case. And I'm not exactly sure why. I believe Savannah Guthrie says she got into town at 2 a.m. Oh, you mean back to Tucson? Yeah, because I heard she was flying through the night. No, Dawn. Do you have my email? My email is aprildavispi@gmail.com. Jay, I believe he knows enough that she was removed on purpose, and he thinks he's a great actor. Oh, yeah, send it to the email. I only get, IMs through, people that are on my Facebook page. And that's just, people I know, or I think it's on one of my membership levels now. I'll have to check that. And most of my members are level 1 members, and they're just, I gifted them or someone else in the chat gifted them. And I have one level 2 member now, which is surprising. And then she said, hey, I didn't see your level 3, so I set it up because I guess they don't let you set it up right away. Because I had to start over again on YouTube, so it's like I'm learning everything. But no, I did not get a message. Was it on Instagram? Or you said Messenger? Tricia says, yes, Jay, both were supposed to have the very next day that Nancy went missing. What did I miss? I want to see the husband selfies from the guys' tennis weekend. Yeah. I had a neighbor, and I'm not going to name them because they were good friends of mine. Well, they were good neighbor friends of mine. And the husband was sexy as F, let me tell you. He was a doctor. And he went on a boys' weekend where they flew to Hong Kong, like just for a day, just to fly together. And they were there for like a few hours. And then they flew back. And I thought that was kind of odd. Like you would go all that way and spend all that money with the boys while his wife was at home. And this was even before they had their children. And then they ended up moving, and they ended up having a couple kids, and they were many places because of his career, a lot of new training he had, and they ended up in Texas, and everything seemed fine. And then one day on my birthday, I'll never forget this, it was on my birthday, the wife made a post on my birthday and announced that as of St. Patty's Day, they had been divorced. And she didn't use the word gay, but she wrote a whole story about how he had become a gay man and they were no longer married, but they were going to raise the kids together because it was like the pandemic or something, and they still live together, and they're still very close friends, and they've done a beautiful job on their daughters. But that's what it kind of reminded me of. Like, oh, he went on a tennis date with the boys. Oh my God. And I'm just saying that jokingly, but things like that really do happen. Both were supposed to have the very next day that Nancy went missing. Clintons were both videotaped live at a questioning of their involvement with Epstein. Yes. Interesting distractions. And I still I communicate with them a little bit on Facebook. And his wife, she's since got remarried. I think the guy's he might be from Pakistan or one of those countries. Kind of shocked me. Because she's in the music business. And on all of their postings now, especially the ex-wife's postings, she's always drinking and talking about alcohol, and I kind of have a feeling that she hasn't handled everything that happened very well, and I fear that they both could be raging alcoholics now. I mean, bad things do happen, like that, and I don't know why my mind went there when I heard that, she was over at Carson Daly spending the night with the kids. She wasn't even home. She left because he was out on his tennis date with the boys. It was just you're married to Savannah Guthrie and you're off on a private weekend with the boys. Why wouldn't you be home with Savannah? There was a comedy show like that a few years ago. But it happens in real life, Dawn says, I sent all the info to your email. This is going to blow your mind. Okay, Dawn. Yeah, somebody sent me a manifesto today. I get some weird stuff. So if you don't hear back from me, it's not that I didn't see it. But I think I opened up a bad can of worms by offering the email, but I always have. But until I kind of like got more subs because of true crime, like I'm starting to get like, I'm getting some good, really good emails that are really useful, but I'm getting some weird stuff too. I do. Not only do I remember, Kathy says, do you remember the show Alice? Yes. In fact, Philip, he was known as Phil McKeon, who played Tommy Hyatt, he was my neighbor for many years. I actually knew him. And I've seen his sister Nancy a lot, like at the Facts of Life on tape days, but I didn't know Nancy, and I've had lunch next to her in Studio City where I was there with friends, and she was there with friends, and but yeah, I knew Phil back in the 90s. Actually, she's already passed away. Linda Lavin, she passed away from cancer. In fact, she lived down the street from me. Do you mean the one from the movie? Because there's the movie Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And then there was the TV show that was very, very loosely connected that was just called Alice, and it was on CBS. And it was one of those cornball sitcoms. Yeah, Linda Lavin, she's already passed. Yeah, that's Polly Holiday. Kiss my grits. I can't do her accent, but she was the best. She was the best. Yeah, even Vera passed. Happily divorced with Fran Drescher. Oh yeah, that kind of is similar to my neighbor's story, because that really happened to Fran Drescher. Yeah, she's been passed a long time. She lived less than a mile from me too, and I didn't know that because she had moved back from New York, and she had a house in the neighborhood here. Dawn, you know what? I used to watch Maude too, and I've actually done a lot of work for somebody that was on Maude, and it wasn't B. Arthur. Actually, for a few people that were on Maude, and I knew all of the Golden Girls or worked with all of the Golden Girls with the exception of B. Arthur, who was my favorite. She was my absolute favorite. But I've worked with Betty White, Rue McClanahan, Estelle Getty the most, but never had the opportunity of meeting B. She was the best on there. As was Adrienne Barbeau. She wasn't really known at that time. Now, you've already had your kitty food. It's too early to play. We play at night when it gets dark, and we'll play with the laser toy. And speaking of that, one of the gifts that's coming, we're always losing the laser toy, or the battery runs out, and then she doesn't understand that I have to charge it. The lady that's sending me like the 6 gifts, like I'm mind blown. After Sunday's show, she's like, check your mailbox in a few days. One of the gifts that she sent is a second laser for the cat. I'm so happy. I can't wait to get it. Becker was one of my faves. I didn't watch that. Kitty is hoping you have forgotten you fed her. Yeah, and she still has plenty of food on her plate. And you know what? I have a Pyrex dish on the floor that's full of her toys, and she's watching the toy dish. She wants to play. But I'm going to have to eat and watch baseball first. And then we'll play later tonight. But, yeah, Kelly, you missed. I got one of these in the mail today from the Amazon wish list. And someone who I thought was sending me a DoorDash gift card has sent 3. Kelly, I can tell you a lot about that show. I was at every single episode of the final season of One Day at a Time. A guy that I knew whose father was an extraordinarily famous film director in Hollywood, his sister was actually the stage manager on that show for years. I knew the entire cast. Come over to Aunt Tricia's, Kitty. Yeah, I was there for every single episode. I was there when they had to go through the second firing of Mackenzie Phillips. I was there when at last moment they had to cancel the taping because Valerie Bertinelli was doing a scene in a dental chair. Because remember the guy that played her husband? He was a dentist, and the chair actually tipped over on set, and she busted her head open and had to go to the hospital and get stitches. And whenever they alternate, like 3 on, 1 off, 3. That's how all the sitcoms do it. And so on the off nights, I would go hang out with that friend over at Silver Spoons, and I would get to sit in the VIP section with Ricky's parents, and yeah, those were the days. And Kim Field's mom, Chip Field, she would come over because it was the rehearsal day for the Facts of Life, and she'd come in there with Kim's little sister, who was like 2 or 3 at the time, and Jason Bateman was there, and Ricky Schroeder, and Alfonso Ribeiro, and oh, those were the days. And if you could see that set in person, Kelly, like the actual one day at a time set, it's really, really tiny. When you see these sets, they look so big on TV, but they're really little tiny. And they shared a stage. It was one of those big stages at Universal that they had moved to from Metro Media, where they would share a stage. And so, like, the Facts of Life shared a stage with their sister show, Different Strokes, and One Day at a Time shared with the Jeffersons, which I never got to see in person because I was at school when they would film. But those were the days. I've met Mackenzie several times. She would do group discussions regarding her substance abuse history. I remember that. Did she ever really get sober? I don't know, but she's got a lot of issues. And that year she was really bad. And I've seen her like a lot of times since, because when I, attend the Hollywood shows to go see my friend who's on Y&R and Days of Our Lives, like sometimes she's been at the table next to us, and, we've never said a word to her. She never said a word back. Everybody's in their own little clique, and I hope she's sober. Oh, your ex-husband was friends with Sherman Hemsley. I love Sherman Hemsley. Facts of Life was bomb. But I came into it, I was in college 5 days a week, and then I started this private detective school at night so that I could like ace out the class and beat all the cops, and they would have to hire a percentage of the graduates. And those nights were Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Tuesdays was my tape night, where I would go to Facts of Life. And I remember I was so upset, like, I'm going to miss the Facts of Life. Then I finally, after I graduated, I started to go for the next season. But then they moved to Sunset Gower, and there's no place to park at Sunset Gower. But then years later, I worked at Sunset Gower. And I worked on so many shows there, like Blossom and Herman's Head and Empty Nest and Saved by the Bell, the college years, and the John Larroquette Show, and The Office with Valerie Harper, and Daddy's Girls with Dudley Moore. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. And it was like, I was so like, oh, why do I have to go to school at night and miss the Facts of Life? Do you remember My Three Sons? Yeah, that was filmed right down the street from my first condo, across the street, actually, at Radford, CBS. Yeah, in fact, one of my neighbors who I was really friendly with, he was one of the replacement drummers for Smash Mouth. He's like really close friends with the guy that played Ernie. They hang out a lot. He and Sherman did commercials together. Oh, wow! Sherman was the best. I remember the later My Three Sons because it first came on long before I was born, but I remember the color version, and I remember like the syndicated version because that started like early 60s or something before I was born. In fact, the little girl that came in with Beverly Garland, remember Beverly Garland? I've stayed at her hotel off and on since I was 16 years old, and I've been there many times. Beverly's no longer with us, but I've been to a lot of functions over there and actually have had lunch with her. And She played the new wife in Little Dawn Garrett, who apparently is like, 4'8" or 4'9" or 10 or something. She's just like almost a little person. She is Leif Garrett's sister. She was in that. And she had a very long relationship with Jason Bateman, but she was much older than him. You didn't see many of these shows till Nick at Night. You know what was cool about Nick at Night is after I worked the show with Valerie Harper, I was hoping and praying that they would bring on the old Mary Tyler Moores, the old Rhodas, and the old Phyllises, and they did. So I knew Val very well through work. I've met Cloris Leachman, who played Phyllis, but I only met her once with Terry Garr, and who I've known for like 30 plus years. But I never got to meet Mary Tyler Moore. Just like with all the Golden Girls, I knew all of them or worked with all of them, but I never got to meet my favorite, and that was Bea Arthur. That just makes me so sad because, she was the best. She was so funny. All those Norman Lear shows, All in the Family, Maude, One Day at a Time, The Facts of Life, Silver Spoons, those were all like Different Strokes. Those were all like Tandem Productions Norman Lear shows. And he just recently died. He lived to be over 100 or something. Yeah, those were the days. And that was before I worked any of these shows. That I got to hang out at The Facts of Life and One Day at a Time and Silver Spoons. I could never see Different Strokes because they taped early on Friday because of the young kids involved. It was a daytime taping, and I was at school. I got to go on the set a lot, but I was so young, and I was just like cramming in college, and then I met this guy, and his dad was, Jack Shea, the director, and I was like, oh my God! And I remember the first time I met his dad, and I was like, wow, this is the most famous person I've ever met in my life. Who knew? That was great. That is one of the best. Archie's best episode was when Sammy Davis Jr. kissed him on the cheek. That was great. And the episodes where they had the man who dressed up in drag as Beverly, and he wasn't a trans, but he was a cross-dresser. Those were some excellent episodes. Jay, yes, with those types of shows would come back. Wish those types of shows would come back. My mom hated All in the Family, refused to watch. Oh my God! I was very, very young when that started. And I haven't been able to watch any of those clips or episodes since the death of Rob Reiner. Especially that it's happened in Brentwood, because I've been through the OJ thing in Brentwood, and like, what is it about Brentwood? That's where the Marilyn Monroe case happened. That's before my time, but a company I worked for was very much involved in that decades later, and Marilyn Monroe happened there. O.J. Simpson happened there. Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner, that all happened there. Yeah, but you know what? I've actually met Carroll O'Connor. I worked with him on an episode of In the Heat of the Night. We met on location, actually, in downtown LA, and he wasn't like that at all. He's like the character that he wrote, Meathead, who was a left-wing liberal. That was really Carroll O'Connor. He wasn't the bigot at all. He was playing the opposite, and who he really was, that's what he wrote Mike Stivic after. Most people don't know that. That was such an honor to have met Carroll O'Connor, and I wish I could have spent more time, we just glanced at each other, and he said hello, and I said hello, but he was in the middle of filming, and I was handling an emergency that had just happened. And yes, his son was on that show. I saw his son on that show. He was on In the Heat of the Night. And we were filming in City Hall, the real City Hall in downtown LA. Let's not even go there, Kelly. Yeah, yeah, and he died of a overdose, and Carol O'Connor never got over it. And he went after the dealer that dealt to his son. And he lived in Pacific Palisades, where I've spent most of my earlier PI career before I got my business. I spent a lot of time in the Palisades in Brentwood. Yeah, he was nothing like Archie Bunker. And I've actually, in Washington, D.C., because I've lived there at times, I've seen him in Edith's chair in the Smithsonian Institute. It's actually in the Smithsonian, Archie and Edith's chairs. Yeah, those were the days. And I no pun intended, like, and I'm so fortunate that I got to visit some of those Norman Lear shows in person. Yeah, this all got started. Somebody said that Alice died, and it's like Linda Lavin's been deceased for some time. She actually had lung cancer, and she lived near me at the time. I didn't know that she lived near me, but I did live in the same building with Phil, and I'll never forget his death because the day he died, I was in with my best friend at a local mail place getting a notary after chemo. Like, I was getting a notary for my final documents, which have since been revised. But the day I was getting the notary, I got the news that he had passed away. And we weren't like best friends, but, we were cool with each other, like, in the building. Oh, I missed a message. What happened? Why was Boston Bill timed out? What did I miss? He's our buddy here. How do I reverse that? Can we reverse that? Why was Boston Bill timed out? I missed it. What did I miss? Which one's April? Which one's what? What did I miss? How do we get Boston Bill back? What happened? I don't know, Bill. I'm so glad you're back. Tricia, you're going to have to explain to me how that happened. I just saw your name pop up on the screen and it said that you had been timed out. And I was like, well, what did I miss? And then I was like, you're back. I'm glad you're back. Which shows did you visit? Or which shows did I work? Or which sitcoms did I visit? Yeah, I don't know why either, Boston Bill. It must have been an error. Trisha, we can talk about it later. I apologize, Bob. I was just thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to have to contact you through YouTube. Like, I don't know what happened. Thought he was making a dig. Which one is April? Oh, no, I think you misread that, Trisha. we're cool, Boston. So which shows did when I first came out here, I had a friend, and his name was J.J. Shea, and he was the son of Hollywood director Jack Shea. Look him up. He's deceased now, Jack Shea, but I got to go as a VIP, and I'm not a VIP. I was a nobody, but I didn't know anybody in LA, and I went to go see a show one day, and I met this kid, and his dad was Jack Shea, and his sister was Shawn Shea. His mother was Pat Shea, who worked for one of the production companies that I worked for later in life. She worked on Soap and Archie Bunker's place, and His mother, I think, wrote Gloria. And anyway, I got to go to the Facts of Life regularly for the whole season 9. I went to One Day at a Time. Well, I went to all of One Day at a Time season 9. Then I would occasionally see the Facts of Life on Tuesday. Occasionally, when One Day at a Time had a canceled filming or they were on their hiatus week, I would see Silver Spoons. I could never see Different Strokes because it filmed during the day while I was in school, but I was on the set because they would have a split set where it would be 2 shows in one. And it was really good just to be there as a viewer to see how it all works, because about maybe 8 or 9 years later, I started working shows, like a lot of them, movies and television. But when I worked television, when I was doing sitcoms, I was doing like Blossom and Saved by the Bell, The College Years, Empty Nest, the John Larroquette Show. I did Herman's Head, season 3. I did Daddy's Girls with Dudley Moore, who I went way back with. So that was cool. I got to meet Valerie Harper. We did a little sitcom together, but it had a great cast. There was a lot of famous people on that show. No, as a PI and also as a provider of private security. The company I worked for had a PPO license, and I am a licensed guard, and I also had a license to carry, not concealed, because LA doesn't allow PIs to carry concealed, but I carried concealed on private property. The Munsters. Oh, I love the Munsters. In fact, I have actually met the son of the mom that played, or the lady, Yvonne, who played the mom. Yeah, she was a movie star. She only did that show because her husband got injured. He was a Western actor in movies, and he got severely disabled, and she went and took that show, and now it's her legacy. Yeah, that's just a few, and I've worked on so many movie gigs too, doing other things. I've been a PI on TV shows and movies. I've been an insurance investigator. I've been a guard. I've handled stalkers and harassers. So if I was a performer and I could have my own Internet Movie Database page, I'd probably be a couple hundred credits long. But I'm not a performer. And Boston Bill, you missed this at the beginning. I went to CVS today, not once, but twice, and I guessed it was meant to be. And I'm going to put a post. You guys, later on tonight, check my post tab. It used to be called Community, but now they call it Post. Check that tab, and I'm going to send you guys a link. I met Snazzy Carlos today. And I was joking with Kermudge, like, hey, Kermudge, I know a YouTuber now that's bigger than you, man. And he lives in my neighborhood. And I ran into him today. And I was like, I wasn't supposed to be at the CVS a second time. And I got hung up, and it was just, the timing worked, and I met Snazzy Carlos. And Boston Bill, thanks for being cool. I'm sorry there was a misunderstanding between you and Trisha. She's an excellent mod. I wouldn't be able to do this without her. She was the one that suggested the Amazon wish list. And today, not one, but 3 of these showed up, as did one of these. And more mail for April Davis Platt, if you've been following that. Yes, Snazzy Carlos. I'm gonna tag him in a post tonight, and I'm gonna tell everybody to watch him. And he's from Michigan or someplace, but he kind of tongue in cheek, he'll make fun of Californians and Angelinos, and I lived here since I was 1, but I left at age 4, and I was raised on the Gulf Coast and the East Coast where I was born, and then came back here at 18. So I'm kind of a mixed breed here. And so I understand him being a Midwesterner and coming out and just being in awe of everything and making fun of people, but not in a bad way, in a funny way. He's really got talent, that guy. And I'm like, hey, Carlos. And we did The fist pump. In fact, I had my Rally Roots hat on that has the fist pumps. He was so cool. He is a cute kid. He's so young. He had no effing clue who Nancy Guthrie was or who Savannah Guthrie is or what the Today Show was because we were talking about my content. Okay, Kathy, thanks for coming, honey. Yeah, you'll have to watch this from the beginning. And we did get off talking about Nancy, but this live wasn't about Nancy. It was about just things that happened to me today and my mail call and my trip to CVS and then apparently this woman who's now befriended the channel from Tucson, who actually lives in the same neighborhood as Nancy Guthrie's house, our new friend, a simple gal at heart, she sent me like 6 things. And they're not here yet, obviously, because I think she just ordered them like yesterday, or it was either Saturday or Sunday, whenever she came in. Might have been Saturday. So obviously they would be too soon for those. But 6 things! Like, oh my God, like, you know, Trisha, I just started this store and I'm going to have to add more stuff to it because so many of the items are getting sold. Like I never expected that. Good for you, April. I'll be back. And no problems, Trish. Thanks for being a cool guy. You're a cool dude, Boston Bill. And Trisha, you're going to have to teach me how to do that. If somebody accidentally gets timed out, how do I reverse it? The case really has me baffled. Well, you know, I have my deep thoughts about it, and that's why I've called the FBI twice, and I've dropped a dime on them twice. And I'll be so pissed if that person ends up getting arrested and I don't see any of the reward money. Just saying. But that's not why I called it in. I called it in because you guys urged me to do so, and I think it was the right thing to do. And when the first call didn't go well and you guys here urged me to call again, and I did, I felt much, much better about it. I've done everything I can do other than, you know, have Savannah Guthrie walk through my living room and have a chat with her, even if we got a Zoom or, you know, I'd be happy to consult with her. Kathy Mallory, Tricia, I want you to know I was just joking. Please get off my case. Oh, is somebody having a spat in here? Everybody, let's get along. Yeah, Tricia, thank you so much for fixing that for me. And you're just going to have to let me, I'm going to have to look that up, like maybe on Google. Google tells me a lot, like, how do I reverse? And you obviously know how to do it because you were able to reverse it. Yeah, and for those that don't know, Boston Bill has his own YouTube channel now. And he is a former bounty hunter. So that's right up my alley. Oh, if you time someone out for, say, 10 minutes, you can click on the 3 dots and change it to 10 seconds. So do I have to click the username and then I'll see 3 dots? Or the 3 dots on the screen? Yeah, I must have. Did I miss something, Kathy? I'm sorry. What's going on here? The 3 dots over on the side. Okay. Then I can reverse it. Yeah. Yeah, we had so many problems, and then I was briefly monetized in the past, and I found a way to go on the back end. I don't know if I remember how to do it now. I'd have to look it up. But I found out how to go on the back end of Studio, and there was something like 10 mods. And I was like, what? Like, oh, this is out of control. And then I just went delete, 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 delete. And I have 3 left. The upper right corner. No, the 3 dots over on the side. I'll have to figure this out. But thanks for fixing that, Tricia. Now, if Trisha could just figure out how I could get back into the long form content and how I could actually get viewers on that, because I think that's the only way that this channel is going to go any further, is if I can get back to making my videos again, because we won't be able to talk about, Nancy forever. So it is what it is. And hey, you guys don't argue in the chat. That's not allowed here. Everybody just chill out. As Rodney King would say, can't we all just get along? No drama on this channel. If there's any drama whatsoever, you'll be taken out. No drama. No politics, no religion, no bullying, and now I'm going to add today, no drama. Oh, no, by the way, I know Trisha told me I didn't need to do this, but I did check at CVS while I was there, because I had looked at their app, and apparently they do sell something called the Colgate dental pen. And I looked, and, in LA, all the expensive stuff, including the laundry soap, is locked up. And I looked, but you can see through the case, they were sold out of the Colgate dental pen. And I can order one on Amazon, but it won't get to me until another 7 or 8 days. So I just want to get something, because even though at my home, when I look in the mirror, it doesn't reflect the same as it does on screen. On screen, I have I'm looking at my screen right now, my desktop, and my face looks all red. But on my cell phone, where I'm filming, it looks white. It looks more light. I don't see the redness. But for some reason, and I don't think it's my ring light, but for some reason, my teeth come across as yellow. And I already know about my triple chin, my turkey neck. I know about that. But I've spent a lot of money that I don't have, that I'm going to have to pay off on a credit card to keep my teeth up, even with everything that I've been through and all the surgeries I've been through this year. And I still need another $1,800 back here. But I'm gonna spend the $20, and or we're just gonna have to keep timing out the bullies, all that. Target. That's a good idea, Kathy. I don't have one exactly close to me, especially in my condition. It would be a long walk to the store, but that's a good idea. I could always look online, and maybe they could deliver it. I don't know if it's going to work, but I don't want to ruin my enamel. Yeah, Amazon is going to take 7 or 8 days, and usually that means it's never going to show up. If they have to transfer it from somewhere, or if it's a third-party sender, it's not like a Prime. It's not a Prime item. It's a third-party item, and a lot of times those never show up, and you got to chase it and then get a refund, and the Colgate Optic White Pen. Yes, Jay, that's what I'm looking for. And it's probably a good thing I didn't find it at CVS, because both times that I went to the line, because I was there twice, some of the coupons didn't work out. And I didn't want to have to call a manager the second time, because I was waiting to go talk to Snazzy Carlos. He's such a nice kid. It's so nice to see, to meet somebody like that, a young person, the next generation or two. He could be my son, and to see that he's got that creative talent. I told him just to keep going and just never stop, and look forward to his silver play button. And he's not even thinking like that, yeah, you get your silver play button, you get your gold play button, and what's the one for $1 million? He's like, I think it's the diamond. I'm like, it's in your future. Just keep it up. Trisha says, sorry, missed it if you already said it. Storms are here. I am dealing with a nervous Nelly husband and a hissy cat. Oh, from the storms, okay. Target $19.99. Yeah, that was the CVS price too, but they might have it at the CVS. There's the one, I call it the Michelle Obama and Ellen DeGeneres one. They went in there once with the Secret Service, and it was not expected, which is shocking. But see, her husband wasn't the president at that time. He had already been the president, so her security level would be much lower. But they went in there and to the CVS, one of the CVS's in Burbank, and they actually filmed like a shopping trip for the Ellen show. So I always call that the Michelle Obama CVS or CVS. I'll have to check that one out. It's much larger. The one that I was at with little snazzy Carlos was sort of like a neighborhood CVS. I think so, but I've never done delivery. But I mean, I do have the app where they go online. Well, I mean, I can go online, but for some reason they won't allow me to get my pharmacy stuff delivered, and it's some kind of an insurance hang-up, and I don't understand because I have early Medicare, so that shouldn't be an issue. But hey, I gotta go. I gotta cook because a ball game's coming on, or I might use one of these. But you know what? I have some turkey burgers in there, and I don't want them to go stale. Yeah, we got some storms headed our way. St. Louis and everyone up and down are getting large hail and tornadoes. Jeez. Use shipping, says Jay. Well, thanks for coming in, and I will later tonight, after I eat and cook and eat and watch the ball game and get the cat played with. Later tonight, when I do some of my back end YouTube stuff, I will put on the post tab. I'll put a link for Snazzy Carlos. Oh, no problem, Kathy. I will check my email, Dawn, and I'm sorry I didn't see any IMs. Like I said, I don't have anybody that's connected to my YouTube unless it's, somebody I know personally, like on my Facebook. So, but I'll check it. But I'll go to the email. Sorry, I didn't get that. Trisha says Northwest Indiana. And now my bunny, she's digging a hole again. Oh my gosh. I got to go get her supper and an apple stick. But you guys, thank you so much for coming. And I will see you later.